Hey, yeah, what's up? The Disciple Marshall Occurrence Rain back up in this anti-Illuminati all day, anti-telepathy all day, anti-America all day, and everybody with them, yeah. So, this video is going to be, like I told you, I'm doing the campaign. 40 states allows adults to have sex with children campaign. And we're going to cover basically the ballistics. We're gonna cover all this going on, all this foolishness is going on, all the hypocrisy that's going on in this community concerning children. You know what I'm saying? Because they witch hunt people and call people pedophiles, and I come to find out they the biggest of them all. That's just the worst scenario situation, man. I'm showing these people by laws how you are the biggest pedophiles of all time. They got the law, they got the world record. That's what this video is about. They got the world record for the lowest age of consent worldwide. I'm not talking about presently and all of that. Nah. I'm talking about right now. I'm talking about the world record. They have the world record, man. America, not Canada, not any Mexico. No, America. Okay. Yeah, I know. They make you feel like we don't mess with kids. We don't do that. We don't do any of that. We don't do any. Man, you got the lowest age for consent of sex with children. 7 years old is the world record as far as laws being passed concerning the age of consent. It's the worst news scenario for my opponents because you can't look at me in good conscience trying to judge me and trying to see who I am when you got the lowest record for the age of consent worldwide in all history. Maybe I need to say it like that. In all history. They have the lowest age of consent for sex in all of history, all of record keeping history, all of the records of history. And yet they witch hunt people and play around people and sit themselves up on this pedestal like we are righteous and we don't do nothing with children. Buddy, not only that, 40 states allows adults to have sex with children right now. Not only that, 12 states, which is a quarter of the country, they have a no minimum age, which allows adults in those 12 states to marry any age. No minimum age. They passed that July 1st, 2019. July 25th, 2019, I received what I believe is a prophetic word that America is expired. 24 days later, I received that and put that on Facebook. America is expired. America is expired. Like the expiration date. And that expiration date was July 25th, 2019. Before that, they passed that same month, the top of that month, they passed a law that allows a quarter of this country to marry any age they want. A quarter of this country, 12 states. That was July 1st, 2019. I got what I believe is a prophetic word that America is expired July 25th, 2019. You put that together. God ain't playing no games, man. Because see, right there, when they pass those laws, that shows you. It shows you it ain't about a certain time where people were just with younger women and younger girls had responsibility. Like back in the day, they had responsibility. I'm not saying they should have married them then, but they had responsibility. They was washing clothes, cleaning, doing all kind of stuff, fetching water, hunting, all kind of stuff. That is still not a good reason, but that's what the reason people would use back in the day is that even in this country, that girls were more responsible. But you can't use that now. When these kids now that's even 25 don't dumb. No disrespect, But on the average, man, kids, they don't even leave home early no more. The first time they ever leave home is what? These days, late 20s, early 30s. I'm being generous when I say that, but about that though. Mid 20s, late 20s, early 30s. When they leave home for the first time. It's one thing to fall on hard times. It's another thing to never have left home. It's another thing to have never left home at the age of 25 going into 30. I left home for the first time when I was 18. Shows you how mature I was. Shows you how competent a mind and developed a mind I was. These days, girls don't even leave home. Men, boys, men too. They don't leave home. Women and men don't leave home till their late 20s. They don't leave their parents' house until they're in their late 20s. And yet, in July 1st, 2019, they decide to pass a law that has no minimum age for men to marry any age of girls. When they don't even leave home these days till they're 25, which means instead of kids being more developed and more smarter, they are not really smart as far as development and the development of responsibility. They become boys become men childs, and girls the same thing. They become women childs, being codependent on their parents financially and even emotionally. This is the country you live in as far as how these kids are made up. They're codependent emotionally and financially on their parents. And even when they leave home, they still codependent on their parents financially and emotionally. So there's no maturity with the young people these days. We all can agree with that. Foundationally, the reason for feeling that way is they don't leave home for the first time until they're in their late 20s. So how does America sit down and decide and ponder that a fully grown man should be dating them? They're not responsible. They're not like the children used to be. The children were more responsible back in the day. Unfortunately, go ask some of these baby boomers what they had to do as kids. Go ask some of these people that's older than that what they had to do as kids from their parents. And you do have to kind of blame the parents because the parents are making it easy for the children. They're making it easy in many ways for the children. So out of all of that and all of this fallen nature of how this fallen nature concerning the development of children, out of all of that, these people decide to pass laws that allows a quarter of the country to marry any ages, which means that's down to 7 and even 5 years old, folks. This is no minimum age. They can marry a 5-year-old girl. No minimum age. You have to understand the laws. No minimum age means no minimum age. That means no minimum age. Understanding the technicalities of law, some of you maybe have never even been locked up. Some of you may not have no family that is in law or anything like that. So you think maybe laws can be twisted. No. Laws are very technical. You can get locked up for technicalities. Laws are very technical. You can be set free because of technicalities. The people might not like it, they may not agree with it, but technically, according to the laws, you are free. Okay? So, with all that being said, when someone goes down to the court with whoever they want to marry, when they're going to hold the courts to the technicality of no minimum age. That's it. And they can hate it. They can want to go get a shotgun and blow the guy's head off or the woman's head off, but you can't do it because this is a law that is set. They cannot hold you back from having access to that law. So in 12 states, the 12 states are California, Idaho, Maine, Massachusetts, Michigan, Mississippi, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Rhode Island, Washington, West Virginia, and Wyoming. Okay? That's 12 states that allows no minimum age, which means someone can walk into a courts in those states, in any county in those states, and and have access to the no minimum age law and hold them to the technicality of that law, and they can marry any age of their perverted desire, which means as low as 5 years old and definitely 7 years old, which keeps America still with the same perspective of the record they hold, the world record of the age of consent being at 7 years old of age with the no minimum age law. They still can marry girls at that age, and that therefore it's even worse because that was Delaware back in the day in the 1880s. This mentality now has spread to 12 states, which is a quarter of the country. So we are actually in a worse state from the time of the world record, which is the age of consent being at 7 years old in 1880 in the state of Delaware. We're worse now because that was only one state. The rest of the states at that time in 1880 were at 10 years old and 12-year-olds. Some states 10, some states 12. But what puts us in the worst situation now is the age of the one state that had the worst age of consent of all time, Delaware. That same perspective now, that same age now, people can get married not only in one state, in 12. And not only can they have obviously sexual intercourse with them, they are married to them, which means that's going to be for life. A life of perversion is allowed in 12 states. A life of perversion with a 7-year-old girl right now is allowed in 12 states, which is a quarter of your country in America in 2022, February 3rd. Just in case you thought it ain't like that now. Yes, you are a fool to think that. You are a fool to think that it's not like that now. When I just told you what I told you, these are technical laws. Whether you believe in it, you live in some otherworldly galactic realm. These are the laws outside in this earth where we live at, right here in America. Right here where everybody talking about they're a patriot. Right here, buddy. Right here. I want to know how the military feel about this. That's what I want to know. I would like to tell a military man about this or a military woman and see their reaction. I need some guests on my show. That's what I need. I need some guests. Because I know no Americans are going to sit up with a straight face and agree with this. And this is beyond, I just don't agree with that. This is some stuff to pull out a shotgun. I'm just saying. Don't you pull out a shotgun when somebody's messing around your 12-year-old girl? Don't you pull out a shotgun when somebody's messing around your 7-year-old, 8-year-old, 9-year-old girl? So these are laws that allow in 12 states in a quarter of the country right now, February 3rd, 2022, there are states, 12 states, a quarter of the country that allows no minimum age, which means in 12 states, which means that in these 12 states, that in any county, that these perverted people can walk in and marry anyone of their perverted desire, and there's no minimum age, which means it could be 5, 6, or 7, 8, or 9. You need to know that. This is a fact. With the no minimum age laws, they can be single digit children, single digit aged children, low as 9 years old. It says no minimum age, folks. That if they want, look, the laws are specific. The laws are precisely 100% specific. So if they wanted it to be 17, 16, like it is in 40 states, then they would have done that. They would have done that. They didn't do that. They didn't say that. They are competent of mind to say, well, we could do that. They didn't do that. What they did was they said no minimum age. And you sitting up looking for monsters. You might as well be thrown in another galactic realm. You're totally blind to what's going on around you. Looking for monsters. You might as well be thrown in another galactic realm. You might as well be, because you're not here. The monsters are right there. Through laws that the government okayed. And the difference, folks, between these perverts that do things out in public, the difference between them and laws is they have to sit down and fill out paperwork. It's more intentional. They have to go down and sit down and do paperwork. Pass it through, that then goes through to the government. And they pass it through, and this becomes laws in every county in the states that they pass the laws. Which is way more damage than some man at Target snooping around the bathrooms. Way worse of damage than that. Okay? Way worse. And yet you're not saying nothing. And that's why you're getting what you're getting. It's the curses. Because you're not saying nothing about that. So all this hoopla and energy, in other words, of you witch hunting people as pedophiles is void and vain. Because when I really give you the real energy, the real manifested situations that involves adults with children, I hear crickets. So you're not about that. So then that's your damnation. Nah, that's your damnation. You sit here and act like you were about children. You act like you were about protecting them. And I just showed you that in a court of this country, that laws that have been passed less than 3 years ago, July 1st, 2019, just in case you're thinking it's not relevant, or the people that passed the laws are not relevant or alive. These laws were passed July 1st, 2019 in 12 states, which is the court of this country, that allows adults to marry any age they want because the law is no minimum age, which means 5, 6, and 7. So that's your damnation for ignoring that. That's your damnation for not having some kind of corresponding action when you have been witch hunting what you think people that you think to be pedophiles. That's your damnation when you have not looked at the laws that are passed in your country. That's why you're suffering. You got to get this part. This is very important. You don't think so, but it is. When people when people look at you and sit up and realize you got the world record, not Russia, not Africa, not the Philippines, you Americans are in the country that holds the world record for the lowest age of consent for sex in all of history. So it's time for you to have a seat. It's time for you to have a seat. Times have already changed. You can feel it in the air. But it's also time for you to have a seat. Bottom line, you ain't got no choice. You look ridiculous when you got the world record in history of the lowest age of consent for sex. You look ridiculous. Trying to talk anything about any pedophile or anything. You look ridiculous. When you got 12 states that allows adults to marry with no minimum age, meaning they can marry 5 and 6 and 7-year-olds. You look ridiculous. You look ridiculous when Massachusetts allows men to marry 12-year-old girls. Right now. And so you look ridiculous right now. You look ridiculous right now. These laws were passed less than 3 years ago. 2 years ago, just 2 years ago, guys. These laws were passed that allows adults to have sex, that allows adults to marry with no minimum age in 12 states, which is a quarter of your country, which means they can marry any age. These laws went into effect 2 years ago, 2 years and some change ago. So I'm showing you who has the perspective of being with children. Because see, here's the thing, folks. Take away the laws. These are people that want to be with 12-year-old girls. These are people that at one point, as far as the government and the American community, they perceived that it was okay to be with a 7-year-old girl. These are the people in Massachusetts right now that can marry a 12-year-old girl. Take away all the laws, and so you get the real truth. You can't look to anyone else when you have that kind of situation. 40 states allow adults to have sex with children. Take away the laws. 40 states are having sex with children. You see the difference? Just take away the laws. Look at it for what it is. 40 states are having sex with children. In 40 states, adults are having sex with children right now in 2022. And I don't see nothing more important than this, because this is too much of a contradiction of this system. This is the collapse of this system, because this is not the values of the American community. There's nobody sitting around agreeing with these laws. So then, therefore, follow me now, therefore, you have two different countries. Far as values go and perspectives go, there is literally a true separation concern because of these laws. There is no United States. Even when you look at the age of consent, it varies everywhere. There's no unity on the perspective. And now you as a community, because of these laws, and now that you're aware of these laws, you are separated, whether you like it or not, by the perspective that you have versus the perspective that they have concerning children with adults. You are already separated. You are already two different countries. And if I sat down with a good old grandmother down in Kansas and told her this, she probably want me to stop because she's getting stressed out. She probably want me to stop because she's getting stressed out. All these good working people all around the country, these family people, even these soccer moms, I tell them this situation, where a 12-year-old in 12 states, there's no minimum age, which means in those 12 states, which is a quarter of the country, that men can go and walk into the courts of their state in those in those 12 states that allows no minimum age. He can walk in his court, the courts of his county, and he can marry right now because of the law, no minimum age. He can marry 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9-year-old girls. This is the end, guys. You don't need bombs. You don't need anything. When this information comes out to you as the community, you are going to have two choices: to be a patriot of truth in facts, or a dark patriot that is with America at all costs, even to the point of ignoring that they allow 40 states to have sex with children, that they have 12 states that has the law of no minimum age, which means these guys can marry as low as 5, 6, 7, 8. You have a choice to either ignore that and become a dark patriot, because that's what you would be, or become a patriot of truth and faith, become a patriot of truth in facts, and separate from this foolishness. It causes us to separate, whether we like it or not.